Hello everyone, welcome to another vlog. Today I'm going to talk about 15 of my photos. I will show them to you and I will talk about the composition and the ideas that I had when I took those photos. My name is Toma. I'm a full-time landscape and travel photographer. If you're interested in this kind of topics, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can also support me by buying one of my editing courses or join me in one of my workshops. The links are in the description of this video. Now, let's get back to talking about these 15 photos and the composition tips and ideas that I have for you. Let's begin by talking about this photo. As you can see, it's a winter landscape. It's this small church. Everything is about the small church. Okay, the way I started the photo is by including this element, which you can see is in, of course, in this area of the image. So if we divide the photo like this, we have this element which acts like a foreground, and it's also on the opposite side of the church. And then we have this ridge that goes down. You see the longer part of the ridge is here to the left and the shorter one here, and because of that you tend to focus over here. And this element that is on the opposite side, I think it helps you navigate this entire image. Now moving on to the next image, this is something that I wanted to do. For example, I have these two peaks over here, and then I have these two splashes over here. It will sound strange, but I'll show you the next photo where I tried to do the same thing, and I did it with only one peak. Now this was the idea for this photo, having two similar elements presented on a vertical way. I have these two over here and then these two over here, and as I told you, then I went for this with only one peak and only one splash. And again, I'm keeping the lower element to one side of the image, and then this helps you create like a guiding line, and you go to this element in the end. Now this is a photo where I use a lot of negative space. This small peak was emerging from the fog, and there was a situation of light where you see you have in this area over here you have a different light, and here you have more darkness. Whenever you have darkness, you have to realize that your eye will be pushed away from the darkness towards the light. And of course, this is the subject, this is the element of interest, but because I have this area, this looks almost like a supporting line of light. Because of this, you are more attracted to this, to the subject. Now this image is from a drone, and the idea was to photograph this road that kind of look like a pine tree, like a Christmas tree. That's the idea. This is a very famous road in Romania that it's photographed a lot, and I had the chance of photographing it in winter conditions, and you also see some large trees in this area. But having this wider elements over here, and then the image progresses upwards with smaller and smaller elements, and in the end it kind of leads you to the topper part. Now this is a photo I really like. This is shot in Maramureș historic region of Romania. This is I think one of the oldest, if not the oldest church from Maramureș. This is in a place called Iăud, and I really liked the way I captured these three crosses and then the church in the background. First of all, I think it creates space and depth because I have these three crosses. You have a plane that it's right over here. This is one plane, and then because you have the church in the background, you have another plane over there, so you have a much more better perception of space. And also I think it tells a better story having these three crosses. You know exactly that, first of all, this is a cemetery with the church, but you also see these old crosses, and you kind of understand how old the elements are in this photo. This is another image, and over here the decision for taking this photo, it's pretty simple. It's not such complicated composition. I mean, the only thing that you have to understand is if I divide the photo like this, I just placed the tree on this third area of the image, and then I kind of used these longer lines in snow to direct your eye towards the tree. I think the most important part of the image is not placing the tree over here, but is finding these guiding lines that take you to the tree. And then of course I'm standing close enough to the tree to have this tree in clear, and then the background, because of the fog, it's much more washed out. The following image, again, a forest, and the composition is pretty straightforward. It's just a simple trail in the forest. Now the thing that I'm paying close attention is to this element over here, and then this element over here. And these elements, I think, that are very important because they act as stopping elements. They don't let your eyes escape to the outside of the image, but they help directing your eye towards the end of the trail. This photo of Chahlo Mountain, it uses two elements, and I'm having this area where there is large trees, so the area from over here, which is pointing up, as you can see, and then I'm having this area over here, which is the place that I want your eye to go. And I think this one over here acts as in some ways a foreground element, but it's not a true foreground element because it's really far away from me, but it acts like the first plane of the image. And so you start over here, and then you move in the distance to the secondary plane, which is this one. And the reason for which you go to this place, it's because I think it has a lot more contrast, and the shape, it's much more interesting than the other one. But this area over here adds a lot to the image because of that spot of color. Now I'll show you two photos inside a town where I'm using this area is a frame inside the frame, and as you can also see, it's darkened. And I think that the journey starts better if it starts in darkness and moves towards light. And in terms of direction, you first go like this, and then you move like this, and then you move like this. Well, this zigzag, I think, creates dynamic in the image, and it helps create a path for you to navigate inside this photo. And using the lines inside cities, I think, work really great. For example, in this photo, I'm having these strong lines like this, but they become smaller and smaller and smaller, and because of that, they form an element that kind of draws you over there to that door. Also, the forced perspective with these lines that all come down and kind of merge somewhere in the lower part of the image keeps your eye towards that place over there. I would have liked to have a silhouette, a figure of some sort over here, on the stairs to create contrast. I think it would have added a lot to the image, but I didn't have the model with me, so I had to photograph it like this. Now again, a photo of a forest. This is a forest I found in Tuscany, and again you can see this is a form. This is kind of like this, okay, but this area, it's darker, and this center area, not only that it's lighter, but you clearly see this path that goes into the forest. And I'm always searching for hints of direction that I can use to help you, guide you through the image. Now the reason I took this photo this low is because you see over here there's a road, and if I would have stood on my feet, I would have seen the road that would have looked something like this, and it would have been a distraction, would have taken you out of the frame. But in the way I compose it right now, I think works really good, because I also have this vegetation in this area that will that kind of creates depth, because you see the bigger blades of grass over here, and then you see over here this is the smaller parts, so you have a better sense of depth. And whenever I can create depth in my landscape photos, I'm doing it. And then the composition is fairly simple. This is placed on the upper third part of the image, and again I'm using a longer line and then a shorter one from here, and it helps guide you to the house over here. Again, a photo from Tuscany, and again I'm using the 17mm lens on my full frame. I'm using this poppy as a foreground element, and these blades of grass really close to the camera, again to create depth. But in the end, this is the final destination that you're going. This has a big contrast, and you see the way the hills kind of go down and then go down over here, and they intersect with this path, where whenever you have a strong intersection like this on that vertical, if you place a subject, your eye will be drawn to that area. This is a small trick I learned from painters. Again, a photo where this is a long exposure, and you see the movement of the clouds are going in that direction. And you also have this line that goes over here. I also darken some areas, and because of that you concentrate over here to these trees. This image, I will show you two variations of this image, but again the subject is very clear, is this place over here, but I think that having this long ridge helps complement the subject. I will show you the same photo in a portrait mode, and I don't think that this works. This image is okay, but I think the previous one, it's much better. Now let's move to this image over here. Here you see a classical image where you have dark, and then you have light, and then you have dark again, and then you have light, and then you have dark again. So I'm using the darkness to enclose the areas of light, and the light, as you can see, starts and goes like this and then turns away. It's a very simple diagonal, and the element that drew my attention was of course the fog through the trees and how the light hit the trees. That was it for today. Hope you found this video useful. Let me know in comments below what you think about this video, and if you have any questions. Thanks for being a subscriber if you are subscribed. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing, and until next time, bye bye.